for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk facts.
We're giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
Play it on the car ride, play it when you lounge. X and O, you know that we can hold it down. Shout out to my man Sammy, got it off the ground. And to all the listeners tuned in right now, got debates, analysis, and speculation. This is sports talk for the new generation. You know where to find us, got a reputation. Sick podcast, your #1 sports destination.
Giving all our devotion, riding high on this wave of emotion. Going all out, yeah, cause this is our time. No, ain't no stopping us till we reach the finish line. All in, we came here to win. We're gonna give everything. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick. On fire, we're ready to fight. We'll bring the house down tonight. S-I-C-K on the run. S-I-C-K, sick, sick.
S-I-C-K is the sickest podcast. Tune in for the audio, or you can even watch back. Giving players all the props, or put them on blast. We don't give no hot takes, only talk back. S-I-C-K,
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 S-I-C-K.
S-I-C-K.
Turn up your volume. Because you're about to listen to The Sick Podcast. With Tony Marinaro.
55 seconds left in the penalty, a minute and 27 seconds left in regulation time. Boston 4, Montreal 3. Lafleur coming out rather gingerly on the right side. He gives it into Lemaire, back to Lafleur.
The sickest Montreal Canadiens podcast.
You're in the ball!
Sports entertainment like no other.
Rejoint, on lui fait perdre la rondelle, une passe devant. Et c'est le dégagement et ce sera la victoire des Canadiens. Coupe Stanley pour les Canadiens. Leur 23e de l'histoire.
You found the dogs! John, you found the dogs! He found the dogs! And all together, they worked a young team to the top. And now, a 24th Stanley Cup banner will hang from the rafters of the famous Forum in Montreal. The Canadiens win the Stanley Cup!
Brought to you by Energy Transportation Group. Driven to be different. La Tibi. Embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination. It's gonna be sick.
Marinaro, thanks for watching the Sick Podcast. Tonight on the Sick Podcast, we're going to talk about 4 Montreal Canadiens prospects. Center/right winger, Aatos Koivu. Center/right winger, LJ Mooney. Center, Michael Hage. And defenseman Owen Protz. All 4 of them are involved in the World Junior Summer Camp Showcase that's taking place in Minneapolis. In all transparency, this podcast was recorded right before the intra-squad game between Canada that has 2 sets of teams, 2 rosters, with one team playing the other. So it was recorded before that, so we can't talk about that. But what we can talk about is what happened on Sunday night when, of course, Team USA and LJ Mooney played versus Team Sweden. It was a very good performance by LJ Mooney. We'll talk about that. What we can also talk about is on Monday with Team USA playing Finland, and it was Aatos Koivu versus LJ Mooney, and advantage Aatos Koivu. We'll talk about his performance, and we'll talk about Owen Protz's chances of finally making Team Canada at the World Juniors, which of course will take place in late December. This is just a showcase, and Michael Hage. And I'm told that there's going to be a lot of competition. Michael Hage is a good player, but it's not a slam dunk that he's going to be a top 2-line centerman on this team. But one guy who's really an expert at talking about this stuff, he runs his, he's one of the elite scouts, I would say, for amateur hockey and collegiate hockey in the United States. From Flow Hockey, he is Chris Peters. I've had the chance to have him on before. Chris, how are you?
Tony, I'm doing well. Good to be with you. Thanks for having me.
Good to be with you. You're one of my favorites, Chris. You know that. So thanks for doing this for me. It's always a pleasure to get to speak to you. All right. We have a picture. LJ Mooney came to development camp with the Montreal Canadiens, and I'm sure you had a chance to see, because I believe you had a chance to talk to him. So we'll get into that. But I'm sure you saw he put on quite a show, and he actually did it in front of thousands and thousands of eyes, including mine, Chris, because I was there in Brassard for the Canadiens development camp, and I saw LJ Mooney put on a show. He looked extremely comfortable. He looked like he was in another category compared to the other players. He also looked like he was a man on a mission who wanted to show them that, you know what, don't judge me because of my size or lack thereof. I'm going to show you that I can play hockey. And man, he can play hockey, Chris.
Yeah, he can. Obviously, everybody's going to see the size because it jumps out. He is, below average and not even really in a hockey sense. It's just not a big guy. But what we've seen from past Canadiens before is that they can play bigger and they can always find ways. And obviously, I think Lane Hutson is proven, a lot of that. What stands out about LJ Mooney, though, is he's just a fearless competitor. He goes into every corner, he'll go into every battle, and yes, he will get knocked around from time to time, but he always comes back. And on top of that, he's got this tremendous skating ability, tremendous skill level. That's been on display here. He has long been one of the top players within his own birth year. Now, the U.S. in that birth year, not the strongest, but he has always been one of those top tier players. And so, to see him have the opportunity here to potentially make Team USA. His head coach at the University of Minnesota, Bob Motzko, is the head coach of Team USA. So there's familiarity there on that front as well. So lots of things that he can do. But, we talked a lot about his opportunity to show off and show out for Habs fans, and obviously he did that in a big way. So I think there's good reason to be excited about the player. He's electric. He's super fun to watch. He still has a lot of work to do to become that top tier player that you want a guy to be at his size. But regardless, the fun is there, the excitement is there, and he's a guy that is just destined and desires to prove people wrong.
Speaking of fun, it's a lot of fun at Playground, and there's 3 tasty reasons to visit the Rail. Mondays, as of 4 p.m., dive into 2 lobster tails for just $22, served with rice, veggies, garlic butter, and a warm biscuit. Thursdays from 4 p.m., sink your teeth into their surf and turf, an 8-ounce New York strip with shrimp fries and pepper sauce for only $19. Fridays from 11:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. Enjoy any burger, sandwich, pizza, or main for just $7. Certain conditions apply. Also, want to give a shout out to Energy Transportation Group. They are a leading full-service logistics provider serving all of North America. They're driven to be different. They're a top fleet employer in the country as well. Bittt Tibi, I want to give them a shout out. They launched their new Ultra Lager, a refreshing, thirst-quenching beer perfect for the summer with only 90 calories, 2 grams of carbs, 4% ABV per can, available in a pack of 6 and 12 in grocery stores all around the province of Quebec. Ultra light, ultra refreshing. There's something that you didn't say about LJ Mooney. I want to show a picture of him arriving at the summer showcase in Minneapolis, and there he is. The smile on his face, Chris, the only reason why I bring it up is when I was watching him play, like he was playing with that same smile on his face. Like, here's a kid, there's going to be a lot of talk and there's going to be a lot of comparing him to Lane Hudson, even though they play different positions, obviously, right? Because of their size or lack thereof, because of their skill, because of their vision, but also because of their passion for the game. And one of the things that makes Hudson special is that passion that he has. The kid loves to play. He's always on the ice. Mooney, you see that smile? He's got that same smile on the ice, Chris.
He really does. He reminds me a lot of Cole Caufield in that way.
That's good. Yeah.
Cole loves, I've seen him playing since he was 16 years old, and that joy always kind of comes across. And I think that's one of the things that I find, a lot of these players that find success, that the passion is part of the DNA, and that is kind of what helps propel them. It's not work for them. It's what they love to do. And so, there's a lot to be said for that and how that aids a player's development. I mean, you have to love the sport, obviously, but you have to love putting in the work. And I think that's something that these guys do. And, Logan has good role models too. Like Logan Cooley is his cousin. They grew up, that's the guy he grew up. That's a big reason why he's going to be coming to the University of Minnesota, following in his cousin's footsteps. And, I think that there's he's just always been immersed in the game. And as I said, he's long been one of the best players in his birth year. A lot of guys got bigger than he did, and that's the separating factor between him and why some of these guys might be considered better overall NHL prospects. But I do think that LJ's, demeanor, his approach, and then the ferocity that he does try to play with, he gets the most out of what little he has physically to maximize. I mean, there have been a lot of great plays that he has made on the physical side of things over the years. Because he does have that mentality and that passion. And I think it just kind of translates to everything he does.
Minor hockey or collegiate hockey is obviously not NHL hockey. We'll see how he does this year in Minnesota. But I've been hearing about this kid out of Pittsburgh for like 4 or 5 or 6 years now. I was working with Chris Nyland back in the day, who had watched a Pee Wee tournament. He came out to me and he said, I saw this little guy called LJ Mooney. He's unbelievable. Okay. He's always been one of the best in the world for his age group. Okay. Some players, it can translate. Other players, because players around them get bigger and stronger, it does not. Other players, because they've exercised that hockey brain of theirs, even at a small stature, they can still get it done and still be one of the best. If you had to bet $1 on Betway, if LJ Mooney is going to be a very good NHLer, you have your doubts, or are you are you convinced that because of all those attributes that you talked about, this kid's got the goods?
Yeah, it's tough to say. Like, I think the size is, it's not like we're talking about a 5'8", 5'9" player. He's a 5'7" player. Like and that seems to be a bit of, there might be a bit more of a ceiling on those players. He doesn't have the thick frame. I think the reason that he slipped into the range that he did, because of being one of these best players, there were multiple reminders last season of why the height disadvantage and the weight disadvantage can be problematic. He got injured multiple times last season, including at the under-18 Worlds, where he missed the bronze medal game because of a large open ice hit that knocked him out of the next game. So because of those concerns, the risk factor is super high. And so I think that that's something that you have to consider when you're talking about a player like him. But I think the tools, the hockey sense, the vision, the skill, the skating are all traits that would put him in the tier of the top players of the last draft. So to be a very good player, I don't think I would bet the dollar necessarily, but I would bet the dollar that he's going to find a way to make it.
I don't know if you heard this, but as part of the during the draft process, he was drafted 4th round by the Canadiens, of course. They got Vinny Lecavalier involved and asked him a question. And the question was, Vinny, did you prefer playing versus bigger players or versus smaller players? And Vinny said, I just thought it was so much harder to play versus the smaller players. They're so elusive. They're so shifty. They're so nifty. They're hard to tee up. And when you do tee them up, obviously there's collateral damage. But it's hard. It's hard to hit those guys. Now, obviously, what you just talked about, Mooney's going to have to really improve that aspect of his game. Mm-hmm. And you talked about Cole Caufield earlier. Cole Caufield, since he's been in Montreal, he hasn't been tagged all that often. I can tell you that right now. Like big Juraj Slafkovsky has got tagged a lot more than Cole Caufield. And with the exception of, a cross-check to the teeth in the playoffs, which is obviously illegal and it should be a penalty. But because of the National Hockey League, you know what? They call a different game in the playoffs. They didn't call that one. But I think he can learn from Caufield in that respect, because you're right. If he's going to get tagged, well, then the odds are going to be against him. He's got to do his best not to get tagged.
See, the interesting thing about LJ is I think the reason that it does happen is that he is so aggressive. He's not getting, shying away from anything. It's because he's getting into the fight. He's going to the hard areas. He's going across the middle. And it's not that his head is down. It's just the game moves fast and collisions are going to happen. And so for me, I think that the thing that Cole has done throughout his career that is so wonderful and makes him such an effective scorer is he gets lost on the ice, right?
Yeah.
He finds those soft areas where you can make an impact. And players, despite the fact they know they have to pay attention to him, he still finds those areas. That is something that I think LJ will have to learn, because that's not exactly the way that he plays. He's much more north-south in that way. And so, you kind of have to sometimes, you don't want to tame him too much because you need that aggressive edge. But the fact that he is elusive, he is able to slip away from things. He goes into it. But yes, I would say that is probably, especially, and we're going to see it in college. Yes, it's not the NHL, but he's going to be going up against guys that are bigger, stronger, faster. Guys as old as 24 years old.
Wow.
It is gonna be that challenge for him. He's going to have to really, and he's going to be an important player for his team as well. So he's going to get a lot of opportunity to show what he can do.
You talked about Cole Caufield. What a pick that was for the Montreal Canadiens back in the day. And you know what? Cheers to Trevor Timmins, who was sold on Caufield and went with Caufield. And, Shane Churla was on board and Marty Lapointe was on board and ultimately Marc Bergevin was on board. But that was Trevor Timmins' call, Cole Caufield, and they needed scoring. And I remember him telling, because there was, Habs television actually showed footage. He told then Montreal Canadiens head coach Claude Julien, he said, Caufield battles for ice. And he gets in tight and he scores big goals. And, he finds open ice. He battles for it. He finds it. Goal scorer. And that's exactly what he's been since he's been here. So now let's talk about LJ Mooney. You talked about the fact that his cousin, of course, is Logan Cooley. of Utah, and let's take a look at this. The exact quote. Do we have it? LJ Mooney on Logan Cooley? We might not have the quote. Okay. We don't have it? No? All right, okay. We'll probably get to it. But let's hear now from LJ Mooney, if we can, who talked about being under the spotlight of Montreal since he's been drafted by the Montreal Canadiens.
Easy fan base here in Minnesota. Canadiens fans are a different breed. I think you made a lot of people really excited with how you played at development camp, and then they saw a couple highlights here. What's it been like kind of being under the spotlight of being a Montreal Canadiens draft pick?
Yeah, I couldn't be more happy about that. They give so much support. They're awesome, the fan base there. So I was so lucky to be drafted by them and just have them behind me. So it's awesome.
All right, there you have it. And also, of course, on being inspired by Lane Hudson after watching Lane Hudson dominate. Let's hear from LJ Mooney.
Here with Cole Hudson, but obviously Lane Hudson is a fan favorite now with Montreal. Similar, a guy that's been doubted because of his size. How much inspiration do you take from that? And obviously the Canadiens believed in him, and now they believe in you. So what's that kind of say about where things are with them and you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously he's unbelievable. I watched him play at NTDP a little bit, just seeing the moves he would pull off there, and then he didn't change at all throughout the years. At college, he lit it up here, and then it's doing unreal in the NHL. So getting to watch him throughout the years has been pretty unbelievable, and then being drafted by the same team, and I think he was doubted, so having people doubt me also, I think it's pretty cool to have that guy.
All right, there you have it. That was you with him, huh?
Yeah, that was me.
Yeah?
Yeah. Always enjoy listening to the sound of my own voice. Thank you for that, Tony.
Yes, you're very welcome. You were around them, so what's the vibe?
I mean, I'd say, the vibe of the player has always been, I can handle anything, and I think that was always the case with Lane, maybe a bit quieter in that way. But, that's the thing is I think that he has heard it all, he has heard it all and he has only known really success. I think maybe not being a top 3-round draft pick could be viewed as a slight if you're LJ Mooney when you've been he was probably the first call that the NTDP made when they were putting that team together, to sign him and bring him into their program. So that's a big thing. And to me, I think that he has all the tools to handle whatever is thrown at him, which will be whatever it is, at the NHL level. And I think he relishes the spotlight a little bit too. He's running to opportunities like at the University of Minnesota, where hockey is such an important thing. Now he's got the Habs. I think that he relishes that attention, not in the way that it's I want attention on me, but just more hey, this is, that pressure is a privilege kind of thing. I feel like that's very much part of his DNA.
All right, Lane, LJ Mooney going to make it to the National Hockey League? Well, no, you're not going to find it on Betway, but I'll talk to you about Betway anyway. Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200 if your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in the details section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. Please play responsibly. And that goes for any sport, folks. They have it all, of course, with Betway. All right, okay. On Sunday night, LJ Mooney and his Team USA played versus Sweden, and it was a performance of 1 goal and 1 assist for LJ Mooney. Talk to me about the performance. I think we have the goal. Do we have the video of the goal? You talked about Cole Caufield before. Yeah. He just shot the puck like Cole Caufield. He did.
He did, yeah. It was a great shot. It was a great play. Nice pass from Ben Keevan, getting it right to him, and then LJ didn't dust it off. He just got rid of it. I also loved his pass too. He's really great at cross ice passes in the offensive zone. Power play 5-on-5. He finds those seams as well as anybody. And in this instance, it was an opportunity to shoot, and that was a perfectly placed shot. And the puck actually stayed in the net too. It stuck. I don't know if it hit it just the right way, but it stuck in the net. And that was the kind of game that I expected him to have. He wasn't as effective in his next game, but that game he was more of the take charge guy. That roster, the way that the rosters have been set up, some more of the returning forwards were on the other team, and LJ was had to be in a situation where he had to be a top 6 guy, had to be a scoring option, a guy that was a threat to do something for them. And that to me is really where, he made that game was a great opening statement. And you could tell that he was a little fired up to be playing. We are at the University of Minnesota, albeit playing on the rink that the women's team plays on typically. There's no ice in the other arena where he'll be playing next year. But yeah, it's been awesome to see kind of him take that opportunity and run with it.
But it was a kid by the name of Stenberg who stole the show on Sunday night. Let's bring up his hockey DB. Ivar Stenberg. Is he at 5'8", 154-pound winger?
It looks pretty outdated. He's at least 5'11". So.
Well, look, I was looking at a hockey DB, and I'm like, what in the world is going on there?
Yeah.
Is he 5'11"?
No. At least 5'11", and then also, he's probably at least I'd say 20 to 30 pounds heavier at this point. Yeah, I mean he's a bit of a horse. Like, I'd say like his north-south game, he's got tremendous skill. He's one of the faster players on the ice. He's gonna, as of right now, he's the number 2 forward in the draft for me after Gavin McKenna. He is a guy that he played at the under-18 Worlds. He was dominant there. You look at the numbers there, though. His regular season, he did appear in 25 games, didn't get a ton of ice time, didn't get a role. Once he got into the playoffs, his ice time went up. He became more of a top 6 forward. He had 6 points in 12 games. Yeah. And I watched some of those games, and he really changed the dynamic of Frölunda. Now we're talking about one of the best clubs in Sweden.
Yes.
Changed the dynamic up front. This is a guy that I think a lot of people are going to be paying very, very close attention to. He was giving college hockey a thought. Frölunda said, "We need you now," and they signed him to a pro contract, which was the deal. And they said, "Come on in here," and he played very, very well. I think he's going to be a hugely important piece of Sweden's team at the World Juniors this year, and will be a huge piece of Frölunda's team all season long.
On Monday, it was Team USA and LJ Mooney versus Team Finland and Aatos Koivu. And it was Aatos Koivu who stole the show with 2 goals, including the game winner. There you have it. Finland beats USA Blue 3-2 at the World Junior Summer Showcase with Aatos Koivu of Montreal scoring twice, including the game winner. Talk to me about Koivu.
Yeah, I think this Finnish team, they're not very deep. And so guys like him have much more of an opportunity, and they are taking it. And he's a guy that is probably going to be more of a top 6 player for this team, maybe middle 6 at worst. And he scored 2 goals on the power play, both from the left face-off circle, both off of one-timers, 2 different shots. One, he had a wide open net. The other one, he had to kind of figure out the goalie a little bit, show a little patience, put it through the goaltender. Really like that. I think for him, last year was a bit of a transitional season, him getting a little bit more into Liga, a little bit more opportunity at the pro level, while also showing that he can still be a dominant player at the U20 level, which I think he was for a good chunk of the season and into the postseason for TPS. So to me, he looks stronger this year. He looks more confident. He looks like a guy that can play a significant role for this team as we go into the World Juniors. So I've got a lot of time for him. I think that he's a very heady player. I think he's still getting more physically invested in the game. And as he does that, I think the battle level is there. I think the compete is there. It's just a matter of, can he get a little bit of extra skill here, a little bit of maybe an extra step here. Those will help him in his journey. But, I think that he's obviously a guy that, is not scared of the legacy that is there. So that to me is really where, he is going to make a big impact, is that, he's got such great character, and I think that obviously the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. He's been around it. He's been in that pro environment. He understands kind of what it takes. And because of that, it does give him an advantage over other players his age that just haven't had that same experience.
When I saw him at development camp, I walked out of there and a buddy of mine called me and he said, Koivu, like his dad? I said, more like his uncle. Hey, your
that's
thoughts?
Fair. That's fair. Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I mean,
what I think.
And the thing is like, these guys, they play so differently, right? Like they play in a different a different era, and they're asked to do different things. And I think, Saku is such he was everything, right? Like he could do anything. He could do everything. And I think, as Aatos gets a little bit more into his career and gets to, I still think he's figuring out what he is as a player, and that's the thing there that I think you can kind of see where it's like, maybe it isn't all the way clicking yet in terms of what he's going to be down the road. But there's a lot of pro tools there. There's a lot of things that he has that you say, okay, well, get him in the right situation, give him another year of pro development in Finland, get him into Laval, get him into these opportunities that will expose him to the kind of hockey that he's going to have to play at the NHL level. He's a longer-term guy. This is not a player that you're going to be, putting on your NHL roster for 2026, 27. This is a guy that you're saying, okay, we're playing the long game here. We're going to see where it goes. But, I think for me, you do have to. It's hard to disconnect him because of the name, obviously. But I think that he does have some of those hard-nosed, different things that he could do, defensive responsibility, like all those things. And yes, like his uncle a bit more. He's got a bit of a size profile to him as well that's a little different. So as he gets stronger, I mean, him being Mikko isn't completely out of the question here.
Let's take a look at the roster actually for the game on Monday between Koivu's Finland and Mooney's USA. And LJ Mooney playing on right wing on the first line, and Aatos Koivu playing right wing on the second line. Let's start with Koivu. When all is said and done, centerman or a winger?
Yeah, I mean, I think at this level, it's pretty clear, that he's more of a wing. I think, his hockey sense and different things that and his size profile, I think there's still an opportunity for him to be a center. But, the demands of the center, I think at this point are a little bit beyond where he's at. But, I think long-term you're developing him as a center. But how many of these guys get drafted as centers and do move on to the wing? I think there's a likelihood that could be the case for him.
I think he's going to be a Phil Deneau kind of player in the National Hockey League. I think he's going to end up being a third-line centerman. Phil Deneau every now and then can actually, with the Canadiens, at one point he was even a first-line centerman. But, he's a 50, 55-point guy. I don't know if he's ever going to pick up 50 points. But I see Koivu becoming a very responsible, sound third-line centerman in the National Hockey League. I think he's well-coached. Obviously, I don't think the apple falls far from the tree. Dad, uncle, grandfather knows a thing or two about hockey. Part of a really good structure where he is. I'm sure that he's got some good people taking care of him. So anyway, we'll see. LJ Mooney, I'll ask you the same question. Center or winger? And by the way, I want to throw a name out there who ended up being drafted in the first round. He was a small player. He was very good. You see any similarities with Danny Briere?
Yeah. I think you could. I think you could see that for sure. I actually think LJ as a player has a little bit more hard-nosed. Not that Danny wasn't, but just I think there's a little more, kind of FU in his game. Like that's the kind of thing. So I think that's kind of one of the things that stands out to me is that, but for me, he is a wing. I think it's very difficult for players under 5'10", really under 5'11", 6 foot to play center in the NHL. And the thing is too, we look at it, how many wings are taking faceoffs, how many got the positions are becoming blended a bit more. And I think the thing is like LJ will do all the things defensively you need him to do, but he's probably not going to do them at the level and be as disruptive as another player. As a forward with the puck on his stick, whatever line he is on, he is going to be the driver of that line. That's how he plays. He needs the puck. He will play with that kind of ability. So I do think that that's where he's at. He'll be a wing, but he will be a guy that can drive plays from the wing.
Go all the way with Betway. Get a free bet up to $200. Your first bet loses. Scan the QR code on the screen or click on the link in detail section to create an account. Redeem your welcome offer. Offers only available for new customers. Terms and conditions apply. Offers not available in Ontario. Must be 18 years of age and older. And please play responsibly. Once again, this podcast was recorded before Team Red versus Team White of Team Canada at the Summer Showcase, of course, the intra-squad game. So without that information, but talk to me about Owen Protz. I want to bring up his hockey DB. Hopefully this one's not updated. I don't think it is, but over 6'2", over 207 pounds, a left-handed defenseman who's played the last couple of seasons for the Brantford Bulldogs, a 4th-round pick, 102 overall by the Canadiens last year in the 2024 NHL entry draft. What are his chances of making Team Canada World Juniors come December on the third pair?
Yeah, I think it's going to be tough. He's going to have to play, a very hard-nosed style. I think that the thing that Hockey Canada did with their D-Corps, they only invited 2 guys that were 2007 born. The rest were the 2006 born players. So they want to be older. They want to be more experienced, and that is going to help his cause. But, it's funny. He actually was surprised that he got invited. And they do have a lot of injuries right now. Most of them are up front, but they do have a fair amount of injuries, and so there's going to be competition. If he can play to his identity, which is to be a bit more physical, to move pucks effectively without being a puck mover per se, he is going to be a guy that is going to find a role for this team. But I think because of the depth, Canada has 22 first-round draft picks that are active and 8 additional first-round draft picks that are hurt. That is a tough roster to put together and a tough roster to make. There will be a number of mid-round picks that make it, because there always are. I think that this is a great opportunity for Owen Protz to show what he can do. This summer showcase is not going to make or break your chance of getting on the team, but it can keep you on a radar. And I think that that's really what this week is going to be about for him. Can you prove you belong? And so I haven't seen him in this setting. I've only seen him in the OHL setting. Yeah. This is a different animal. This is high level hockey at a way that most of these guys have never played, unless they've played at the World Juniors or have been in a summer showcase before. Even though it's summer hockey, the pace is incredible. The talent is incredible. You have to elevate. I'm going to finish it off asking you about Center Michael Hage, who, of course, had a great rookie season in Michigan. Put on about 10, 11 pounds of muscle since I saw him get drafted by the Montreal Canadiens, 21st overall. All things being equal, where do we stand right now? Would Berkeley Catton be the guy to center the first line for Canada at the World Juniors? Yeah, I think Berkeley Catton is, if he's available. Let's say he makes Seattle. I think there's a lot of NHL risk on this summer showcase roster. I mentioned all the first round draft picks. Berkeley Catton seems like the number one guy, but I think what Michael Hage has to prove here is that his speed is a difference-making asset. He's making plays with pace. He's doing all the things that he needs to do, on the defensive side of the puck. I think that's probably going to be the biggest thing for him is, if you're not going to be in the top 6, where do you fit in? That's going to be his challenge. This is going to be a very difficult top 6 to make. Caleb Desnoyers is injured right now. He's not here. That's a player that I could see as a number 2 center for this team. Oh yeah, of course. So that's the kind of players that he's going to be competing with. Martone and Gavin McKenna on the wing, I would imagine, for first line. Yeah. As of right now, it looks like that could be a Catton, McKenna, Martone. If they're all available, that looks like a first line. I think that's a first line that's any team it'd be the envy of any team in the tournament. Michael Misa, Carbonneau probably rounding it out, or? Yeah, I think they'll be in there. It's so tough to say. That's the thing is Misa might end up being a wing at this. That's the kind of thing that we're looking at right now. And there's a lot of challenges that Canada has in front of them, and when I'm putting this roster together, and they're all the best problems to have. What would you say is a weakness for Michael Hage, if there's anything holding him back? What would it be? I think his play away from the puck is still very much a work in progress, and I think that his skill and his skating have never been in doubt. They've always been known. It's just what's the work rate off the puck? Can he compete night in, night out? Can he give you good shifts if he's not driving the line? If he's not, can he be a team guy within? Hey, you got to find a role. You're not the number 1 or number 2 center. That's what I think will be the challenge for him. Chris Peters of Flow Hockey, amazing as usual. Thanks so much for all your time, man. I really appreciate it. Hey, my pleasure, Tony. Thanks for having me.
I love this guy. Special thanks to Betway. Special thanks to Bittt, to Tibi, to Playground, to the Rail Inside Playground, to Energy Transportation Group. If you like the podcast tonight, leave us a 5-star review on Apple. It's our way of feeling the love. For Shane Gaumont and Master Control, it's a Sick Podcast. I'm Marinaro.
And that's a wrap. Hope you don't miss us too much until next time. Follow the Sick Podcast with Tony Marinaro on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. The Sick Podcast is brought to you by Energy Transportation Group, driven to be different. LaVie.tv, embrace your true nature. And Playground, your premier gaming destination.